Imagine a boxer who spins 360 degrees in the middle of a fight, who hops on one leg while his opponent swings at nothing but air, who literally turns around mid-round to trash talk the other guy's corner. Now imagine that same boxer has never lost a professional fight and carries knockout power in both hands. That's not imagination, that's Ben Whittaker. And he might just be the most electrifying talent boxing has seen in a generation. They call him the surgeon. Not because he's careful or methodical, but because he dissects opponents with surgical precision while making it look like he's having the time of his life. Ben Whittaker stands 6'3" with a reach that stretches over 75 inches, and he uses every bit of that frame to do things in a boxing ring that shouldn't be possible. At just 28 years old, he's already an Olympic silver medalist turned undefeated professional with a record of 10 wins, 0 losses, and 1 controversial draw. But numbers don't tell you the whole story. To understand Ben Whittaker, you have to see him fight. Because what he does in that ring isn't just boxing. It's art mixed with chaos, skill blended with audacity, and precision wrapped in pure entertainment. Born June 6, 1997 in West Bromwich, England, Whittaker grew up in Wolverhampton, a city better known for football than fighters. He wasn't your typical kid. Diagnosed with ADHD, he struggled in traditional classroom settings, but that restless energy that made him a handful in the classroom, that became his superpower in the ring. As an amateur, Whittaker wasn't just good, he was exceptional. He represented England at the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Australia. The following year, he traveled to Russia for the World Championships and came home with a bronze medal. His amateur record finished at 53 wins and 13 losses. Impressive, but it was Tokyo 2020 that changed everything.
Ben Whittaker, completely different body shape, completely different style as well.
At the delayed 2020 Olympics held in 2021, Whittaker fought his way to the light heavyweight final. The gold medal match pitted him against Cuba's Arlene Lopez, one of the most decorated amateur boxers on the planet. Whittaker lost by split decision. And here's where the legend of his competitive fire really begins. When they placed that silver medal around his neck, he immediately took it off and put it in his pocket. Cameras caught him in tears, devastated. People criticized him for not wearing the medal with pride. But Whittaker wasn't being disrespectful, he was being honest. In his mind, second place wasn't good enough. He felt he'd let everyone down. It took time for him to appreciate what he'd actually accomplished. That moment showed the world who Ben Whittaker really is, a fighter who refuses to settle, a competitor who won't accept anything less than greatness. In 2022, Whittaker made the decision to turn professional. He signed with Boxer and linked up with legendary trainer Sugar Hill Stewart, the same coach who guided Tyson Fury to heavyweight glory. Stewart saw something special in the young Brit. Not just talent, but that rare combination of natural ability and fearless personality that creates superstars. Anthony Joshua called Whittaker a future pay-per-view star. High praise from one of Britain's biggest boxing exports. But Whittaker wasn't content to just follow someone else's path. He wanted to create his own lane. His professional debut came in July 2022 against Greg O'Neill. Whittaker ended it in the second round with a knockout that announced his arrival. But it was how he won that caught attention. Even in his first pro fight, glimpses of that showboating style were there. The movement, the confidence, the entertainment factor. He wasn't just trying to win, he was putting on a show. Over the next year, Whittaker systematically dismantled opponent after opponent. Peter Nosic fell to a unanimous decision. Jordan Grant got stopped in the third round. Vladimir Belusky, an experienced fighter with a solid record, couldn't handle Whittaker's speed and got knocked out in round 8. Stiven Leonetti Dreadodge lasted 4 rounds before the referee stepped in. Each fight, Whittaker grew more confident. Each victory, his style became more pronounced, and the boxing world started to take notice. So what exactly is the Ben Whittaker style? It's complicated. Because what he does breaks every traditional boxing rule you've ever heard. Hands down, chin exposed, dancing in range, spinning in circles, talking to people outside the ring while his opponent tries to hit him. It looks reckless. It looks dangerous. It looks like someone who doesn't take boxing seriously. But here's the thing. It's calculated chaos. Every move has a purpose. Every showboat serves a function. Whittaker himself explained it best. He said making someone miss gives him the same thrill as knocking them out. It's his guilty pleasure. Standing right in front of an opponent, hands by his waist, and watching them throw punches that hit nothing but air. He sees the frustration building in their eyes. He feeds off it. His trainer, Joby Clayton, broke down the method behind the madness. There are two types of showboating Whittaker does. There's the self-congratulatory stuff, like clapping for himself or celebrating mid-fight. That's pure entertainment for the crowd. But then there's the tactical showboating, the ducking and diving that completely disorients opponents. The rhythm changes that create openings. The shapes and angles that make it impossible to time him. That's not just for show. That's how he creates opportunities to strike. The hopping on one leg, it disrupts his opponent's distance perception. The spinning, it breaks their timing and mental focus. The talking to their corner, pure psychological warfare. By the time they realize what's happening, Whittaker has already landed 3 clean shots and moved out of range.
Let's go!
He's not showboating in spite of being effective. He's effective because of the showboating, and it's not like he can't box traditionally. He's proven repeatedly that when he wants to put on the fundamentals, he can. Tight guard, technical combinations, disciplined defense. But where's the fun in that? Whittaker draws inspiration from legends like Roy Jones Jr. and Pernell Whitaker, no relation but eerily similar styles. Both were masters of making the impossible look easy. Both turned defense into offense. Both made boxing look like a performance art. When Whittaker won the junior ABAs, people told him he boxed like Roy Jones. He said that was the best feeling of his life, because in his mind, he was Roy Jones. He walked like him, moved like him, fought like him. That confidence isn't arrogance, it's genuine belief in his abilities backed up by the skills to match. February 2024. That's when Ben Whittaker went from British prospect to global phenomenon. His fight against Khalid Graidia should have been a tough test. Graidia had gone the distance with quality opponents, including former British and European champion Dan Aziz. He was supposed to give Whittaker problems. Instead, Whittaker gave the internet the most entertaining boxing highlight reel in years. The showboating was next level. We're talking full 360 spins in the middle of exchanges. Matrix-style dodges where he'd slip 4 punches in a row while barely moving his feet. The referee had to warn him multiple times to calm down. The crowd was going absolutely insane. But here's what made it special. Whittaker wasn't just clowning around. Every flashy move led to devastating counters. He'd make Graidia miss, then immediately fire back with lightning-fast combinations. Body shots that made Graidia wince. Headshots that snapped his neck back. By the 5th round, Graidia had had enough. Whittaker stopped him with a barrage of punches that forced the referee to intervene. The clips went viral overnight. Social media exploded. Whittaker gained 100,000 Instagram followers in a single night. His total followers shot past 1 million. American superstar Shakur Stevenson, the WBO lightweight world champion, sent him a direct message saying he was a fan and loved how much fun Whittaker has doing his craft. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know who this crazy British fighter was. The attention wasn't just positive, critics came out in force. Old-school boxing purists hated the showboating. They called it disrespectful, said he was making a mockery of the sport. Former champions warned that he'd get knocked out if he tried that against elite competition. But Whittaker didn't care about the criticism. He understands that the game has changed. Modern fans want entertainment. They want personalities. They want moments that make them stop scrolling and actually pay attention. March 31st, 2024. The O2 Arena in London. Ben Whittaker versus Leon Willings, a tough fighter from Cheshire holding the Central Area title. This was supposed to be a step up in competition, someone who could test whether Whittaker's style worked against more experienced opposition. The answer? Absolutely. Whittaker came out with his signature elaborate ring walk, a martial arts-inspired entrance that got the crowd hyped before a punch was even thrown. Then the bell rang and he went to work. The first round was a statement. He opened with disciplined jabs to Willings' body, testing the defenses, bringing the guard down. Then boom, double jab setup, right cross straight down the pipe. Willings hit the canvas. Credit to Willings, he got back up and showed serious toughness. But the writing was on the wall. Whittaker stalked him for 8 rounds, landing sustained combinations, mixing bodywork with headshots, all while incorporating the showboating that drives people crazy. At one point, he was swaying side to side directly in front of Willings, like he was dancing to music only he could hear. Willings couldn't touch him. After claiming he intentionally let Willings hit him just to prove he could take shots, Whittaker won a clear 78-73 unanimous decision. Another dominant performance, another win added to the undefeated record. But more importantly, another demonstration that his style worked at every level he'd been tested at so far. Let's talk more about that Graidia fight, because it really deserves its own section. This wasn't just a win, this was a cultural moment. Before the fight, Whittaker's team studied the footage. Graidia had rushed at Zach Parker in a previous bout. He went toe-to-toe with Dan Aziz. The game plan was simple. Meet him immediately, hurt him early, take away his aggression. Then, once he's on the back foot, take over completely. That's exactly what happened. From the opening bell, Whittaker came forward with bad intentions. Clean shots to the head and body that immediately earned Graidia's respect. Once Graidia started backing up, Whittaker unleashed the full repertoire. The spinning, the taunting, the making him miss by inches defense that looked physically impossible. There was this one sequence that went mega viral. Graidia threw a combination, 4 punches. Whittaker slipped every single one with minimal movement, his hands down by his waist the entire time. Then countered with a 3-punch combination that all landed clean before Graidia could even react. It was like watching someone play a video game on the easiest difficulty. Except this was real, and Graidia was a legitimate professional boxer. The referee kept trying to maintain order, multiple warnings for excessive showboating. At one point, Whittaker attempted a full 360 spin, and the ref almost stopped the action entirely, but the crowd loved it. Because that's what Whittaker understands better than most fighters. Boxing is a business, and in the entertainment business, you get paid based on how many people want to watch you. Give the people what they want. By round 5, Whittaker decided it was time to end the show. He broke Graidia down systematically. Body shots that took the wind out of him, headshots that accumulated damage. Finally, a vicious combination forced the referee to step in. Technical knockout, victory, and a viral moment that would define his career up to that point. October 12, 2024, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom Arena. On the undercard of the massive Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol light heavyweight title unification, Ben Whittaker was scheduled to make his first defense of the IBF International Light Heavyweight title against Liam Cameron. This should have been another showcase for his skills on the biggest stage yet. Instead, it became one of the most bizarre moments in recent boxing history. The fight started typically enough, Whittaker doing his thing. Cameron, a durable British fighter with something to prove, pressing forward trying to land something significant. By all accounts, it was competitive. Not a dominant Whittaker performance, but not a disaster either. Then came the 5th round. Both fighters got tangled up near the ropes. Whittaker appeared to pull Cameron toward the ropes, whether intentionally or as part of the clinch exchange. The momentum carried both men over the top rope and out of the ring. They crashed to the floor below. Whittaker immediately grabbed his ankle. He couldn't continue. The fight was over due to injury. But here's where it got controversial. Under British Boxing Board of Control rules, when a fight ends before the scheduled rounds due to injury, it goes to the judges' scorecards for a technical decision. All 3 judges scored the partial fight. One had Whittaker ahead 58-57. Another had Cameron ahead by the same margin. The third scored it dead even at 58 all. Split technical draw. Cameron and his team were furious. They accused Whittaker's corner of telling him to stay down, suggested the injury wasn't real, called it a tactical withdrawal because Whittaker was in a tough fight and didn't like it. The controversy exploded on social media. Had Whittaker's showboating style finally caught up to him? Was he exposed? The truth was more complicated. Medical examinations later confirmed a severe ankle injury. The tumble out of the ring was legitimate, not staged, but the damage to Whittaker's reputation was real. Critics who'd been waiting for him to fail jumped on the narrative that he couldn't handle adversity, that when faced with a true test, he folded. The polarizing figure became even more divisive. But champions don't stay down, and Ben Whittaker wasn't about to let the story end there. April 20th, 2025, Birmingham, Resorts World Arena. The rematch everyone wanted to see. Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron, round 2. The buildup was intense. Cameron talked about exposing Whittaker as a fraud, about proving the first fight wasn't a fluke, about showing that when you take away the showboating and make it a real fight, Whittaker can't handle it. Whittaker stayed relatively quiet during the promotion. No wild trash talk, no excessive predictions, just a simple message. Watch what happens. The bell rang. Immediately, you could see a different Ben Whittaker, more focused, still skilled, still dynamic, but with a purpose that wasn't there in the first fight. The showboating was minimal. The fundamentals were on display. Clean jabs, calculated movement, power shots when openings presented themselves. This was the surgeon operating exactly as his nickname suggested. Cameron came forward with the same game plan from the first fight. Pressure, aggression, trying to make it ugly. But Whittaker was ready. He countered beautifully, landed the cleaner, harder shots. And in the second round, he ended all debate. A perfectly timed combination wobbled Cameron. Whittaker smelled blood. He unleashed a barrage of punches. Cameron tried to cover up, tried to survive, but the assault was too much. The referee jumped in. Technical knockout, second round, dominant, decisive victory, redemption complete. Whittaker had answered every question. Can he win without showboating? Yes. Can he handle adversity? Absolutely. Can he perform under pressure with everyone watching to see if he'd fail? Without a doubt. The critics got quiet. The doubters found something else to complain about, and Ben Whittaker proved he was more than just entertainment. He was a legitimate, dangerous fighter in the light heavyweight division. But Whittaker wasn't done making statements. In October 2025, he signed a long-term contract with Matchroom Boxing and promoter Eddie Hearn, one of the biggest names in the sport. This was validation. Major promotional companies don't invest in gimmicks. Hearn sees in Whittaker what everyone else sees, a potential superstar. November 29th, 2025, the National Exhibition Center in Birmingham. Ben Whittaker versus Benjamin Gavazzi for the vacant WBC Silver Light Heavyweight title. Another opportunity to showcase his skills on a big platform. Another chance to remind everyone why he's one of the most talked about fighters in boxing. The fight lasted 1 round, that's not a typo. Whittaker came out and dismantled Gavazzi so quickly and so thoroughly that the referee had to stop it in the first round.
And the placement, look at this, big shots, Gavazzi in a heap of trouble. What a knockout!
Technical knockout, WBC Silver title secured. Professional record now sitting at 10 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw. 7 of those wins by knockout. A 70% knockout ratio that proves the power backs up the showmanship. This is where Whittaker sits as of December 2025. Currently ranked 12th by the WBO and 9th by the WBC in the light heavyweight division. Still undefeated, still improving, still entertaining, and most importantly, still hungry. Let's break down what actually makes Ben Whittaker so difficult to fight. Because beneath all the theatrics, there's genuine world-class skill. First, his physical attributes. 6'3" with a 75-inch reach gives him size advantages against most light heavyweights. He's an orthodox fighter, meaning he leads with his left and powers with his right. But he can switch stances fluidly, which creates all kinds of problems for opponents trying to time him. His footwork is exceptional. Watch how he moves around the ring. He's never flat-footed, always on his toes, creating angles, circling away from power, stepping in for quick exchanges, then immediately getting out of range. It's constant motion, but it's purposeful motion. Every step has intention. His head movement is where things get special. Most boxers rely on blocking with their gloves or moving their entire body to avoid punches. Whittaker can make you miss with just a few inches of head movement. Slip left, slip right, pull back, roll under. He's mastered the art of being just barely out of range while appearing to be completely exposed. It's a psychological weapon as much as a defensive technique. Opponents see him standing there, hands down, chin available, and they throw with everything they have. Miss again, miss a third time. Now they're frustrated, tired, and vulnerable to the counter that's coming. Speaking of counters, Whittaker's timing is extraordinary. He doesn't just make you miss, he makes you miss and makes you pay for it. The instant your punch goes by his head, he's already firing back. You don't get time to reset your defense because he's already landing 2 or 3 shots before you realize you missed. That's the definition of a counterpuncher, using your opponent's aggression against them. His punch selection shows real boxing IQ. He's not just winging shots and hoping they land, he sets up everything. Jabs to the body bring the guard down so the right hand to the head can get through. Jabs to the head make opponents raise their guard so the body shots can dig in. Everything flows together, and when he really wants to hurt someone, he can dig deep and find genuine knockout power. People who train with him tell stories about his gym work, the discipline, the dedication, the hours spent perfecting those movements that look so effortless in fights. Because that's the secret. It looks easy because he's made it easy through countless repetitions. The showboating isn't improvised, it's practiced. The dodges aren't lucky, they're trained. The counters aren't accidental, they're programmed into muscle memory through years of work. What separates good fighters from great fighters often isn't physical, it's mental. And Ben Whittaker's psychological approach to boxing is fascinating. He grew up with ADHD, something he's openly discussed. In school, that was a problem. In the boxing ring, it became an advantage. That restless energy, that need for constant stimulation, that inability to stay still, it translates perfectly to his fighting style. He calls himself a wind-up merchant, someone who loves getting under people's skin, not out of meanness, but because he genuinely enjoys the reaction. In school, that got him kicked out. In boxing, that makes him millions of dollars. The showboating isn't just about entertaining fans, it's about frustrating opponents, making them emotional, making them angry, and when fighters get emotional, they make mistakes. Watch his eyes during fights. Even when he's spinning or dancing, he's constantly watching, reading, processing, looking for the tells that show what's coming next. A shoulder twitch that indicates a right hand, a weight shift that means a left hook, a blink that shows uncertainty. He's gathering information even while he's putting on a show. His trainer, Joby Clayton, has talked about having to shout back to business during fights, because Whittaker can get so caught up in the entertainment aspect that he forgets there's still a job to do. That's the balancing act. How do you let him be himself, express his personality, and do what makes him special, while also keeping him focused on actually winning the fight? It's a unique coaching challenge, but there's depth to Whittaker that people don't always see. After the controversial Cameron draw, when he could have made excuses or been defensive, he showed real emotion, real vulnerability. He came back in the rematch and fought smart, mature, controlled. That shows growth. Shows that beneath the showman is someone who genuinely cares about his legacy and is willing to adapt. Ben Whittaker didn't invent his style out of nowhere. He studied the greats. Roy Jones Jr. is his biggest inspiration. The man who defied every boxing convention and became one of the most spectacular fighters ever. Jones would put his hands behind his back and dare opponents to hit him. Would lean away from punches with impossible reflexes. Would knock people out with punches that started from angles that shouldn't work. Whittaker watched that as a kid and thought, that's what I want to do. Pernell Whittaker, no relation despite the similar last name, was another influence. Sweet Pea was a defensive master who made championship-level fighters look like amateurs. His movement was so slick, so effortless, that he could go entire rounds without getting hit cleanly. Whittaker studied that and incorporated those principles into his own style. Prince Naseem Hamed, another British showman from a previous era, showed that you could be entertaining and be a world champion. Naseem did backflips into the ring, talked trash before and during fights, made highlight reels that are still watched today, but he also knocked people out and won world titles. He proved that style and substance aren't mutually exclusive. Working with Sugar Hill Stewart has added another dimension. Stewart brings that old-school Kronk gym mentality. Hard work, proper technique, punch power. He's helped Whittaker add more venom to his shots. Taught him how to be efficient with his energy, how to hurt people without having to move 10 feet before throwing. The combination of Whittaker's natural flair with Stewart's technical expertise is what makes the current version so dangerous. So what's next for Ben Whittaker? The light heavyweight division is stacked right now. You've got unified champions like Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol at the top. Dangerous contenders like Joshua Buatsi and Dan Aziz. British rivals like Anthony Yarde and Callum Smith. There's no shortage of big fights available. Whittaker currently holds the WBC Silver light heavyweight title and the IBF International title. Those are stepping stones. Regional belts that show he's in the conversation, but not yet at the championship level. The question isn't if he'll get his chance, it's when and against whom. Does he take the patient approach, build up more experience, face progressively tougher competition, and earn his way to a title shot organically? Or does he push for a big fight now while he's hot, while his name is buzzing, while fans are desperate to see him on the biggest stage? Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have a track record of building fighters correctly. They won't rush him into a fight he's not ready for. Whittaker's combination of skill and star power makes him incredibly marketable. In an era where boxing struggles to create new stars, here's a ready-made superstar if he keeps winning. Potential opponents are already calling him out. Buatsi and Whittaker had a face-off where both said they'd take that fight if offered. That would be huge. A battle between two of Britain's best light heavyweights. Styles make fights, and that's a stylistic dream. Buatsi's pressure and power against Whittaker's movement and counters. The build-up would be electric. The fight would be must-see television. There's talk of him potentially moving up to cruiserweight eventually. At 6'3", walking around at 81 kilograms, he sits right between the weight classes. More weight means more power. Could also mean even more size advantages against smaller cruiserweights. But that's thinking too far ahead. Right now, light heavyweight is where the big opportunities are. Beyond wins and titles, Ben Whittaker is changing how people view boxing. He takes risks. He makes fights exciting. He gives fans moments they'll remember forever. His social media numbers tell the story. Over 4 million followers on Instagram. Videos that go viral beyond just boxing fans. He's reaching people who don't typically watch the sport. Young people who want entertainment, not just technical excellence. That's valuable. People who initially dismissed him as a gimmick are starting to recognize the real skill. You don't go 10 wins, 0 losses, with 7 knockouts against professional opponents if you're just a showman. You need to be able to actually fight. Whittaker can actually fight. His openness about ADHD matters too. Being told they can't focus, can't sit still, can't succeed in traditional settings. Whittaker shows them there's another way. Find what makes you special. Find what you're passionate about. Channel that energy into something productive. He's become a role model not just for aspiring boxers, but for anyone who doesn't fit the conventional mold. The promise he made to himself after the Olympics is still driving him. He wants to be remembered as one of Britain's greatest boxers ever. Wants his name mentioned with Joe Calzighe, Lennox Lewis, Ricky Hatton, the all-time greats. That's not going to happen based on viral videos and entertaining performances. That only happens with championships and defining victories. He knows that, which is why despite all the showboating and entertainment, he's deadly serious about his goals. The controversial draw with Cameron revealed potential vulnerabilities. When faced with sustained pressure and a fighter who wasn't intimidated by the antics, Whittaker looked human. The injury was real, but the competitive fight before the injury showed he's not invincible. But here's the thing about criticism. It only matters if the fighter lets it affect them. Whittaker seems to thrive on it. He understands that in the entertainment business, being polarizing is better than being ignored. Love him or hate him, you're watching, you're talking, you're invested. That's what matters. Ben Whittaker is 28 years old. In boxing terms, he's entering his prime. The physical attributes are still there. The speed, the reflexes, the power, but now he's adding experience. Learning from each fight, understanding how to handle different styles, growing as a complete fighter. The next 2 or 3 years will define his legacy. Either he'll deliver on the enormous promise and become a world champion, or he'll become a cautionary tale about style over substance. Right now, he has the talent, he has the team around him, he has the promotional backing, he has the platform. What happens next is entirely up to him. If you're not watching Ben Whittaker, you're missing the most entertaining fighter in boxing today. Yeah, there are more accomplished fighters. Yeah, there are bigger names, but there's nobody who makes you stop what you're doing and pay attention like the surgeon. Nobody who generates the same level of excitement, controversy, and pure spectacle. He's compared himself to Roy Jones Jr., to Pernell Whitaker, to Prince Nassim. Those are legendary names, all-time greats who changed how people viewed boxing. Can Ben Whittaker join them? Can he become the next British boxing icon? Can he prove that you can be both entertaining and excellent? We're about to find out. And whether you love him or hate him, you're going to watch. Because that's what Ben Whittaker does. He makes you watch. He makes you care. He makes boxing fun again. The surgeon is operating, and the patient is the entire light heavyweight division. One by one, he's going to dissect them all. One by one, he's going to prove that his way works. And one by one, he's going to create moments that will define this era of boxing. This is Ben Whittaker, the Olympic silver medalist who put the medal in his pocket because second place wasn't good enough. The showman who spins 360 degrees mid-fight. The fighter who's never lost a professional bout. The entertainer who went from 1 million Instagram followers to global phenomenon. The competitor who came back from controversy to dominate his rival in a rematch. The prospect who just signed with Matchroom and won the WBC silver title in one round. This is the surgeon, and he's just getting started.